What's up YouTube, Meloetamat. So it's the weekend again and it's time for another early lists. So we're still ploughing through our set 9 stuff. And for you today we have got Bruce, we have got Youthberk, and we're rounding it out with Granfia. So let's get started straight away and diving straight into Bruce. And Bruce got a brand new grade 3, so let's talk about Diabolos Vehemence Bruce. So Vehemence Bruce has got 2 skills. First one being, at the start of your battle phase, if all of your units are cards with Diabolos in their card names, till the end of your opponent's next turn, you become Final Rush. And if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or grade A, you become Final Burst. And second skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, if you are in Final Burst, you can Counterblast 1, choose a column and stand all of your rear guards with Diabolos in their card name. And they also gain 5,000 power. So this is really nice. So changing how Final Rush works from being a turn 4 deck into a turn 3 deck is really nice. And then having this new mechanic called Final Burst on top, where if your opponent's Vanguard's going going second or turn 4 going first, which then provides extra mechanics on top, is really interesting. Then Bruce has now got the ability, instead of standing a front row, stands a column. And being able to push out so much pressure from restanding a column that also gains 10,000 power total is really solid. But what have we got to support this new Bruce? Well, to start off with, we have got our good old friend from set 6 in the Diabolos Diver, Julian. So Julian's got the skill of Auto Rearguard Circle once a turn. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can Counterblast 1. And it gains 2,000 power for each deck card in your damage zone. Then, if you've got a Vanguard with Bruce in its card name, Soul charge 1 for every 2 cards in your damage zone, and then call the same number of cards from your Soul to the Rearguard Circle for every card you Soul charge, but they've got to be empty Rearguard Circle. So, Julian is good mid-battle phase calling. So, being able to remove units off the board, and then be able to call units from our Soul, to then reoccupy those empty circles, is really nice to have. Yes, with the changing from Violence Bruce to Vehemence, we do lose things like Marjorie and Proto Bowl, so we're not actually clearing our board as easily. But we do still have some units to utilise with this, which is really nice. Plus, even if not, he's still populating a board from your Soul during the battle phase whilst generating a lot of Soul charge on top. So you can get a nice pool to utilise. Plus the fact that the new Bruce doesn't actually Soul Blast. So you're not actually losing your ride line anymore. And Richard and Steve are not bad options to call out for extra bits of power. And then we're rounding out the Bruce discussions with a very old card that's become a little bit more popular due to the new stuff, and that is in Diabolos Girls, Stephanie. So Stephanie's got the skill of Continuous Rearguard Circle. If you're in Final Rush, all of your other units in the same column as this card get power plus 5,000. You're more likely thinking to yourself, well, why am I using a 8k that gives something in its column 5k? Well, due to how Vehemence Bruce now says you are in Final Rush till the end of your opponent's turn, Stephanie allows Vehemence Bruce to begin an 18k Vanguard during our opponent's turn, which helps with the defensive side of things. Yes, because obviously, due to the lack of losing Protobulb and Marjorie, as we said prior, you're not gaining as much cards into your hand. So having this as an extra buffer for the using less cards to guard with does help compensate for that. That's enough of the cards. Let's actually look at an example. As you can see from the example list we've got here, this is our generic run-of-the-mill old Bruce stuff with the new Bruce, along with a couple of new tech options. Now, the main one I know people are going to be questioning on my list is going to be the Grade 2 Jared. Now, Jared's more of an interesting meta choice. The reason I've put Jared in is because when he attacks, he switches off your opponent's intercepts for his battles. And we're currently in an ever meta where they can intercept with the obstacle blades to gain 10k shield. But Jared switches that off, which is really nice to have. Plus, you can still Counterblast Soul Blast 1 to buff by 10k. On top of that, in the column with the Stephanie, for example, 10, 23, 10, 20, 28, 33, 43 on Persona Ride, 53 on the restand. It gets really big numbers. We do still have the good old Port of Eden for the on-hit pressure, plus really good for the jet matchup, because the retired does come really much in useful in that, removing your opponent's Gungan rounds, the GGs, Swirlers, if they're still running them, Falsate Performer, and the new Sargon, because that's being played a lot more in Cryojet now for the fact of the on-hit, but 2 from drop to soul. So having Eden in the deck still to retire them is really nice. The other new card that we've gone for is Ivanka here. Now Ivanka, when she boosts, if the attack hits, you can Count Blast 1, slide the card to the bottom of the deck, draw a card, and give something power plus 5,000. So creates an empty rearguard circle for us to then combo off further with Julian to then get 4 calls and actually still reach 6 attacks in the deck, which is really nice to have. 5 attacks, sorry, not 6. Miscounting. But one thing to note is I've not gone for the 2 new cards that other people are testing around with in Jamil and can't remember how the grade 1 name. And also Greg as well, but Greg's very much I don't like because his timing is horrendous. Jamil is a good 20k attack, 15. Jamil's good power and shield, but needs to be in final burst to get that power and shield. So he's a dead card till turn 4 unless you're going second. And he's on place is during the main phase. Or, not during the main phase, sorry. You'll be placing it during the main phase because to build a board, whereas obviously Julian's a battle phase, calling more stuff to place out. So you're getting more combos off, and you're actually utilising the fact that Julian can work well with Ivanka, whereas Jared can't, is the problem. It's on place. And if you do Julian into Jared, Jared then can't call another attacker out because Julian's still attacking. That's the reason I didn't go for them. Grade 1 the other grade 1 that came out you could use is a plus 5k power and shield whilst you're in final burst. So again, turn 4 card, but could be used, but I personally chose not to go with it. As for triggers, we've gone for fronts, just the fact that they've got the Diabolos name. Heals, obviously, we're focusing primarily on going for the Ariana, for the fact of, again, Diabolos name. Just in case we need to call these cards, or boosters, they'd still let Vehemence Bruce go off and actually hit his final burst, final rush, and all that stuff. Alright. And that's it for Bruce. Let's move on to the next deck in Youthberk. And where best to start than just recovering the Youthberk Skyfall Arm. So, Youthberk Skyfall Arms has got the skill of overDress, Auto, Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle this unit attacked, choose up to 1 card with the Revel form in its card name from your hand. Write it as a stand, and until the end of that turn, it gets drive -2. And second skill is Act Vanguard Circle. Once a turn, you can cost, discard 1 card from your hand, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and add 1 Revel Form from amongst them to your hand. Or choose up to 1 grade 2 or lower card and call it to Rearguard Circle, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So what this is really good compression in the deck, for the fact of you're filtering out, taking out your non-triggers, and then creating a stack on the bottom of your deck. So you're starting to really compress your deck, finding your triggers, which is really nice to have. But then you also get the extra Vanguard swing, which is extra, would be extra drive checks if you didn't lose them, but we do have cards that bypass that. Like the Revel Form Gust, and we also do have Quana, which gives a drive check to a Revel Form. So we do have ways to get around it, so extra pressure is really nice to have. But let's see what he got in terms of new support. Well, the first bit of new support is the new triple rare in Breakthrough Knight Dolbrag. Dolbrag's got the skill of Auto Front Row Rearguard Circle. When your Vanguard is placed on Vanguard Circle with the overDress ability, choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets power plus 5,000 to end the turn. And second skill is Auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks a grade 3 or higher unit, you can Soul Blast 1 card containing Revel Form, and during that battle, this unit gets power plus 10,000. So this is a beat stick to himself, but also gets to power up the Vanguard. And due to his timing, he doesn't create weird attack patterns like where you got with Nigel. Because Nigel had to attack to give the Vanguard the plus 5k. With Dolbrag, you can go Vanguard, Revel Form, swing with Vanguard, and then swing with the Rearguard so you're not wasting a Rearguard attack. And the Revel Forms in Soul do become dead after a while, so having the ability to Soul Blast 1 Revel Form to gain 10k for the extra bit of pressure is really nice to have. But that's not where all the new cards stop. We do have one more in the forms of Knight of Broken Bow Svit. Now Svit's got the skill of Auto Center Back Row Rearguard Circle. When your Vanguard is placed on the Vanguard Circle with the overDress ability, stand this unit, and this unit gets power plus 10,000 to end the turn. So Youthberk's gained a 15k booster, which is really nice to have. Yes, it only starts off as 5k and does go up to 15. But then when you're combining it with the fact of Persona Ride, it's going to be swinging 23, 28 anyway, which is magic number because you're forcing more than a 20k shield to make it no problems. Plus you still got the fact of the Vanguard swing, so you still got your drive check pressure on top, so you're going to forcing out lots of guard anyway. But then you're then re-standing up to give more pressure to your Vanguard that doesn't have drive checks or has got less drive checks. So you're still providing a nice bit of pressure. Plus it gives you the ability to trigger dump of your Vanguard's drive checks onto the Vanguard booster, so it applies for the first Vanguard attack, restands, and then also applies for the second Vanguard attack. The only issue is obviously with how the current Youthberks are playing, the Quana is normally behind the Vanguard, which then gets replaced with the Wayward Therapy Angel when you discard it. So it does create some weirdness with where you're going to put your Sequanas. But it's something that's definitely worth testing and seeing how it goes. That's it for the example cards. Let's have a quick look at the list. So, as you can see from the list we've got here, this is your standard run-of-the-mill Youthberk. We've trimmed back on one of the Nigels and one of the Kybras, just to add in the 2 Dolbrags for the extra options. And we have trimmed back on a Wayward Therapy Angel and one of our Gusts, just to add in a couple of the grade 1 boosters. Could change them around, it's down to personal preference. And obviously we've gone for fronts here for the sheer fact of there is so much compression in this deck Draws will deck you out, and I've seen it multiple times. The other thing I have seen some people mucking around with is actually changing their overtrigger to the Cray Elemental one. Because having the Amatanoa giving drive checks to the rear guards just speeds up the deck out pressure. So that one is very much a personal preference. But this is just an example list. Let me know what you think. And then we're moving on to my favourite ride line from the new set in the forms of Granfia. And we're going to start off with the boss of the deck in Lavian Lord Granfia. Now, Granfia's got 2 skills. First one being, act Vanguard Circle once a turn. Cost, you can Soul Blast 1 to turn all your plant tokens on your rearguard circle into plant gauge. Then create a Noblesse Rose token in your back row center rearguard circle. And put all your plant gauge onto that unit. And then the second skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. Enter the battle this unit attacked. Cost. Put 1 or more of your Noblesse Rose tokens or plant gauges into your drop zone, up to a total of 5. And then choose one of your rear guards. It gains 5,000 power for each card put into the drop zone for this cost. Then if you put 3 or more cards into the drop zone for this cost, you can stand that unit. So as you can see, he's got built-in multi-attack. And he works around the plant token mechanic, which is obviously we've seen with Rora, but this is a completely different style of it. So obviously Rora uses it as a defensive mechanic, whereas Granfia is using it as an offensive mechanic. So it's yin and yang, I think is the best way to put it, which is really nice to have. And with the fact of him needing 3 or more, means that he's going to be having a lot of plant generation within his deck, which is really nice to have. And the fact of, obviously, retiring 5 plant token, plant gauge / Noblesse Rose token, and giving something 25k power and standing it is really nice to have. I do want to stress that, obviously, the Noblesse Rose tokens or plant gauge is inclusive all. So you can choose 1 Noblesse Rose and 4 plant gauge. And that would work absolutely fine. But what is this Noblesse Rose token? Well, let's have a little bit of a look into it. So the Noblesse Rose token has got multiple different skills. There's one big skill, but gains all the following skills. But its skill is, this unit cannot be moved to other circles, and if you Vanguard as Granfia, you gain all the following effects. First one being, when your plant token appears on the rearguard circle, place it as this unit's plant gauge instead. And this is mandatory. Second part is, for each card in this unit's gauge, this unit gets power plus 5,000. And when you retire a rearguard with a cost, it can be paid by retiring a plant token rearguard instead. If it can be paid by retiring a plant token rearguard, you can remove a gauge off this instead. So, really nice card. It gains 5k for each gauge on it, which can scale very fast in this deck, due to the sheer number of tokens this deck can produce. Plus, you've also got the fact of you can then utilise it for multiple different costs for this gauge, whilst not losing out on rearguards. One thing I do want to stress, though, is the interaction between the Noblesse Rose and Momoke token. And because you're physically not retiring units, you're retiring gauge, Momoke token will not gain power from retiring Noblesse Rose gauge. But what have we got in terms of plant summoners? Well, let's look at the main one in the Ranran Orangine. I'm guessing someone's mucked around with my scan, but let's just go with it. And this has got the skills of Auto. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you may call 1 plant token to rearguard circle. And second skill is Auto front row rearguard circle. At the start of your battle phase, if you have a Granfia Vanguard, you may call a plant token to rearguard circle. So, funny scans aside, this is actually a really interesting card. We've got on place creating plant tokens, which is really good, but doesn't have to be from hand, so the likes of Spiritual Body Condensation, Diantha, Frozen Resentment, all will still let you pull more plant tokens. And then the second skill on top of that, pulling more plant tokens if you've got a Granfia Vanguard, is really nice as well. Plus, it's not grade restricted. So if you can get Ranran RNG now on grade 2, you'll get that second skill going live, creating more plant tokens. Really nice to have. Creates a lot of early aggro for this deck, which is really solid in this card. But that's it for the cards. Let's have a look at an example list. So as you can see from the example list here, we've gone for a bit of an interesting one. So starting off, you can obviously notice the big, scary, roaming prison dragon. And I've put this in the list for the fact of you can utilise an order, like for example, the Frozen Resentment, to pull out an Orangine, make a plant token, and obviously this will then bring out the roaming prison dragon because you've activated an order. Give it a critical. You'll then swing in with a crit boosted rearguard to then swing with your Vanguard and then use his skill, sack 5 plant gauge, give the roaming prison dragon 25k, and then restand the roaming prison dragon, so you're getting a double crit swing, which is really nice to have. We do have extra plant enablers in the mushroom and the pumpkin. The mushroom puts itself to soul, choose one unit, gains 5k, and you make 2 plant tokens, which obviously going to go straight to gauge. And then obviously you've got the farming pumpkin, which soul blasts 1 to make some plant tokens as well, which is really nice to have. Makes 1 general, and then if you've got a grade 3 Granfia, it makes an additional plant token. So allows for early game pressure, but gives even more pressure in the late game because it piles on the gauge very nicely. Other order we've gone for is a nice simple Count Blast 1, make 2 plant tokens, which obviously then becomes the plant gauge. So as you can see, we've got a lot of here's some plant tokens, we're going to pile it on fast. The Anther is mainly in here just for the fact of revival of the Ranran Orangine and the pumpkins, and just being an in general really nice 13k booster, just for the Roaming Prison Dragon columns. You can swap out Roaming Prison Dragon for the peas that came within the set, just like you can also swap the Anther out for some more budget options, and make this literally cheap beyond cheap, and it's a really solid deck still. All in all, this is my favourite deck from this set. Really budget and really strong out the gate, so really can't wait to see how they develop this further down the line. But that's it for the 3 lists. Honestly, all 3 are really interesting, going 3 completely different ways. You've got the mass aggro of Granfia, you've got Bruce with his combos, and then in the middle you've got Youthberk with his compression. So really solid decks. Can't wait to see how they all develop. But that is going to be it for this video. If you haven't done so already, please do like and subscribe. It very much does help the channel. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye bye.